These are probably the three hardest words that we can ever say. I don't know. A trembling patient looks up at her doctor and asks, "Will I get well?" The doctor pauses. I don't know. A middle-aged man turns to his partner of 20 years and asks him, "Do you still love me?" His partner pauses. I don't know. A single mother sits with her financial advisor and asks, "With the stock market, will there be enough money to pay the tuition next semester?" Financial advisor pauses. I don't know. A minister reaches out her hand to an elderly man and asks, "Do you have to believe in God?" The man pauses. I don't know. We get into our car or our SUV and silently ask, "Will I get home alive? Or will this be the day that I die?" What does it mean when our only answer can be, I don't know? We live in a world that wants to know, that needs to know. We live in a world that has convinced itself that it does indeed know everything. We live in an incredible information age, an interdependent worldwide web of instant access. In a moment, we can pull onto our computer screen, into our smartphone, into our brain, almost any piece of knowledge we could ever desire. We can then broadcast it from Boston to Bangkok, Twitter it from Tulsa to Tehran, IM it from Illinois to Indonesia. The wisdom of the world is at our fingertips. No, actually, the wisdom of the world is our fingertips. But what do we know? What do we really know? We might be able to know the average rainfall in a rainforest in Brazil. But do we know why the sound of rain on a summer night mesmerizes our spirit and makes us ache to run barefoot again into the deep wood? We might know how to read several languages: Spanish, Portuguese, German, Russian, Japanese. But do we know how to read the subtle language of our soul? The silent unfolding of that first crocus, the clear joy of a snow-fed stream rushing over rocks and stones, that harsh and exciting call that leads wild geese back to their springtime nesting grounds. We might be able to know the population of Prague or Beijing or Boston. But do we know why our life can feel so empty? We might know how to peer into the farthest reaches of outer space. But do we know how to peer into our own commotion of emotion and see, really see, why we are still doing that same thing after all these years? We might know how to reach out through miles and miles and miles and miles and touch the dust of Mars. But do we know how to reach through our own fear to touch the truth in the heart of the person who's sitting next to us? We might know how to build up tall buildings that reach into the sky. But do we know how to break down the walls that separate the wealthy from the struggling, black from white, Christian from Muslim, male from female, hungry from full, disabled from able-bodied, straight from transgender? We might know the life expectancy of a girl born in the Sudan. But do we know when our one wild and precious life will come to an end? We've made ourselves believe that we are masters and commanders of our world, when in truth, we're small, almost insignificant creatures buffeted by fears and feelings and fantasies, events and eventualities. So much of our lives, the great, awesome, awe-inspiring, important questions of our lives remain a mystery. John O'Donohue, an Irish scholar, Catholic priest, and poet, who I've quoted extensively already through today's service, writes, "It is strange to be here. The mystery never leaves us alone. The mystery never leaves us alone." And yet so many of us try to live our lives as if the mystery is no longer there. So many of us create our religion and spirituality as if the mystery doesn't matter. So many of us try to shape our faith as if the mystery has already been solved. In his book, Anam Cara, a Celtic book of wisdom, quite appropriate for the weekend after St. Patrick's Day, John O'Donohue writes, "There is an unprecedented spiritual hunger in our times. More and more people are awakening to their inner world. A thirst and a hunger for the eternal is coming alive in their souls. Yet one of the damaging aspects of the spiritual hunger is the way it sees everything in such a severe and insistent light. The light of this consciousness is not gentle. It wants to unriddle and control the universe. It wants to unriddle and control the universe." John O'Donohue calls this kind of thinking neon consciousness. Neon consciousness. He warns, neon consciousness is similar to the harsh and brilliant white light of a hospital operating room. This neon light is too direct and clear to befriend the shadowed world of the soul. If you keep shining the neon light of analysis and accountability on the tender tissue of life, you make it parched and barren. Now, I was not raised as a Unitarian Universalist, nor were most of us here. Most of us found this liberal faith tradition later on in our lives. I grew up in a religious tradition that claimed to teach the mystery of faith, but actually left very little space for the mysteries of questioning and wonder. It worked hard to unriddle and control the unknown with too many answers, with too much severe and insistent light.